So let's go through these Kahoot questions. First one, is square root of 5 less than, equal to, or greater than 3? So to solve this, first you're going to go to your calculator. I'm using Desmo's calculator. I'll type in square root of 5, and that equals, you can see on the right, it equals 2.2 something. And 2.2 is less than 3, so the answer is less than. Next one. Between which two consecutive whole numbers is square root of 50? So again, I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to type in square root of 50. That's 7.07. 7.07 is in between 7 and 8. So the answer is yellow circle, 7 and 8. It's in between 7 and 8. Between which two consecutive whole numbers is the square root of 70? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my calculator. Square root of 70. As you can see, that's 8.3. 8.3 is in between 8 and 9. 8.3 is bigger than 8, and 8.3 is less than 9, so it's in between 8 and 9, which is the blue diamond. Next one. Which number is irrational? So this one, the one that's irrational is the one that's not a perfect square. Perfect squares are not irrational. Perfect squares are rational. So let's check each of these to see which one is not a perfect square. So first, square root of 144. Square root of 144, that's 12. So that's a perfect square. Next was 36. That's 6, so that's a perfect square. Next is 49. That's 7, so that's a perfect square. And the last one was 68. That's decimal point, so square root of 68 is not a perfect square. So that means the square root of 68 is irrational. So the answer was green square, because the square root of 68 is irrational. So I'm going relatively quickly through these so that the video isn't too long. If you are still confused, feel free to come to my office hours between 8 and 12 any morning this week before you take your test. Which number is the least? Well, so for this one, we have to find out which of these numbers is the lowest number. So first off, we have 1/3. Let's find out what 1/3 is. Let's convert them all to decimals. So we have 1 divided by 3, which is 0.33. Okay? The next one was square root of 3. That's 1.7. So already we know that that 1/3 is less than square root of 3. So we know that the square root of 3 is not the answer. Next was 2.5. 2.5 is bigger than 0.33, so you know that is not the answer. Last, let's check square root of 5. Square root of 5 is 2.2. So we know that 1/3 is the smallest number. All of the other ones were bigger than 1/3. Which number is rational? So this one, you need to find the rational number. You know that pi is irrational because pi is a really long number that goes on forever. Square root of 45 is not a perfect square, so that is irrational. And 1.15155, that's not repeating. It's a pattern, but it's not repeating. So that one is not rational. So since 0.454 is repeating forever, repeating numbers are rational. So the answer is yellow. So a square has an area of 81 square feet. What is the length of one side? Well, so what you can do is, in order to find the length of one side, you take the square root. So you can go to your calculator, take the square root of 81, which is 9. So 9 is your answer. A cube has a volume of 216 feet cubed. What is the length of one side? So when you want to find the length of one side from a cubed problem, you want to take the cube root. So you go to your calculator, take the cube root, so I do 3, oh no, that's not what I do, never mind. I do this, and then I do a 3 there, and I do 216. The cube root is 6. And again, your calculators probably work differently than mine. So if you need help reviewing how to take the cube root or the square root, feel free to ask in class. So the answer was 6. Next one. This is write 3 to the negative 12 with a positive exponent. So remember, when you want to make a negative exponent positive, you flip it. Remember, you flip it to the other side. You take the reciprocal. And the only one that flipped it was blue, because it flipped it to the bottom. Remember, when you have a negative, you want to flip it. Okay, simplify this number. Remember, anything to the power of 0 is 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So the answer is yellow, because it's 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Next one. What is 6 cubed times 6 squared? Well, remember, we're doing exponent rules. So when you have 6 cubed times 6 squared, you're multiplying the same bases. Okay, you're multiplying the same bases, so you add the exponents. So this is 6, 3 plus 2, which is 6 to the 5th. Multiplying bases, add the exponents. Next one. So this one is 7 to the 5th divided by 7 cubed. So this one we're dividing same bases. Dividing same bases, subtract the exponents. Because 5 minus 3 equals 7 squared. Dividing same bases, subtract the exponents. Okay, so the answer is 7 squared. Next one, what is 3 to the 4th to the 3rd? So this one, when you have a power to a power, this is a power to a power. So this is a power to a power. So you multiply the exponents. So you have 4 times 3. So you take the same 3, and then you multiply the exponents together. Okay? That equals 3 to the 12th. 3 to the 12th. So this one, solve x squared equals 36. So this one, if you work this out on paper, so this is working it out on paper, you are taking the square root from both sides, because square root is the inverse of squaring, so that cancels out. And then you're left with x equals plus minus 6. Because if you don't know what the square root of 36 is, you can use your calculator. Square root 36, and you get 6. Your calculator will only say 6. But the actual answer is plus minus 6, okay? Even though the calculator only says 6, the answer is plus minus 6. Okay, so the answer is plus minus 6. Next one, x squared equals 20. So you're going to do the same thing, but 20 is not a perfect square. So you're not going to write this decimal. Instead, you're going to just keep it as square root of 20. Okay? So you did like the same thing where you did that. You have your divider down the middle. You take the square root of both sides. So that cancels out. So you're left with x equaling plus minus 20, because 20 does not have a perfect square. okay? So you're just going to leave it under the square root. So this problem, we have to put 2,689,000 as scientific notation. So we're going to go ahead and go to our notes. Let me clear this page really quick. Okay, so we have 2,689,000. So first we're going to round, and we're going to round up because 6 is bigger than 5. So we're rounding up to 3 million. And now, so we know it's 3 times 10 to however many spots are after the 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 times 10 to the 6. Next one. Put this number in the scientific notation. So we're going to go back to our notes and do the same thing. So I'm not going to write the whole thing, but it was like 0.123. What was the number? Oh, 427. Okay, I'm just going to do 427. Okay? We want to round, and this 2 is less than 5, so we round down to 0.0004. Now we see how many times it takes a decimal point to move over. 1, 2, 3, 4. It took 4 jumps, so we know it's 4 times 10 to the negative 4th. Negative because it's a decimal. Next one. Solve x cubed equals 343. So this one, we are going to go to our piece of paper. So we have x cubed equals 343. We're going to draw our line. Now we're going to take the cube root of both sides. So cube root of x cubed equals the cube root of 343. Okay, so that cancels out, and we're going to use our calculator to see what the cube root of 343 is. So that 343 and equals 7. So we know the cube root of 343 is 7. It's not plus or minus 7 because you do not need the plus or minus for cube roots. So the answer is 7. What is the inverse of squaring? The inverse of squaring is square root. What is the inverse of cubing? The inverse of cubing is cube root.